so freaking bad. Wrestle me.
Welcome, everybody, to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 99.99999. With Sreten in the Juice today is a very special guest, the AirPod God, the most marketable one from MLW, Richard Holliday. What's going on, sir?
Well, you caught me off guard a little bit with the episode 99.999. Why am I not episode 100?
Well, here's the thing.
Blame it on the virus.
The episode. Yeah, blame it on the virus. We're going to blame everything on the virus. We were supposed to be putting on a episode 100 at a local brewery around here, Three Floyds, and the coronavirus kind of ruined everything on that. So we decided to still keep going with the method we had. I mean, fuck it. If you want to be on episode 100 too, we'll just have to bring you back.
Well, you can bring me back, but I think episode 99.999 to infinity has a bit more pizzazz to it, and I'm the only one who will ever have that moniker. So, you know what? From a marketing standpoint, I think episode 99.99 to the infinity is better than episode 100.
That's right. As Chris Farley would say, that is correct. So what's going on in your world, man?
Well, my world is altered, obviously.
Yep.
I'm still heavily caffeinated. However, it is to really no use in the sense that there's not many places to go to or things to do. However, I'm staying busy to the best that I can, hopping on podcasts with gentlemen like yourself to pass the time and attempt to get my mind off the fact that the world is literally ending. Other than that, I'm doing great.
Right. Well, I mean, you're a marketing man yourself. You got to keep that brand awareness out there, right?
Well, of course. I mean, marketing doesn't end for anybody. Branding never rests. So It's very important to stay relevant with the public and the consumers and, make sure that your name is being talked about just as much, if not more, in times like this than when things are normal.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love the consumers. I don't want to insult you and call it the shtick or anything because I don't believe that it is. I like your presentation and it's the truth. I was watching an interview you did for ABC 6 and you were kind of explaining that whole thing. And hey man, kudos to you. I like that. That is much like episode 99.99999 is yours and forever will be. So is the way you interact with the consumers and the way that you present yourself in the world of professional wrestling. It is very unique unto yourself. So kudos on that. Good unto you, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they are. They are consumers.
Exactly.
And, am I an innovator for calling them consumers? I think some may say yes and others may say no. I mean, I think the intelligent and the intellectual will say, well, you didn't innovate really anything. That's what they are from the start. But I think, somebody with, a shorter, length of knowledge might say, well, wow, I can't believe you're calling them a consumer. Well, think about it. They paid money to see something. They are putting money into the market. They're buying goods or services, whether they're buying your T-shirt or buying an 8x10 or buying a ticket to see you in specific. They are a consumer, a quote-unquote fan of professional wrestling might not partake in any of those activities, right? They might just say, oh, yeah, pro wrestling is cool. They're not a consumer.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a consumer. They're probably a casual fan.
Right.
But a consumer is actually integrated into the market.
Exactly. I totally agree. And speaking of the market, I mean, do you practice, are you involved in any way, shape, or form with the stocks or anything like that outside of pro wrestling?
So, of course. And this is a really difficult time. It's one where, hopefully you were prepared financially.
Yeah.
For something like this, and thankfully I am. But this is a very, very this is worse than 08 in terms of the effect on the market. 2008 was a housing blunder. This is something where consumers can't even go into the market and really spend
right.
or put money in it. I mean, this is from a stock perspective. This is worse than 2008.
Right. I totally agree. Very uncertain times. What's your take on this? I mean, I know nobody can really put a length of time on how long this whole thing's going to last, but I mean, is this something you do think that the market can bounce back from? And if so, how long you think that it would take really feel the effects of a bounce back from this.
Oh man, I mean, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Right.
And I think, the effects on the market, I mean, I don't know, it could be a 12-month effect. It could be a long time. I'm praying that it's not, but this could be something where it's going to get worse before it gets better. It might be a good time for somebody who's never invested to maybe buy some stocks and hope that they get to, surface level in months' time. Maybe they can turn a profit on that. But other than that, for people that have been in it, I mean, these are rough times.
Yeah, very much. So getting out of the market talk here, I'd like to get into a little bit of, I've seen you wrestle with MLW and Cicero on occasion. I watched you and MJF win the tag titles. I unfortunately watched you drop the tag titles in Cicero.
Boo!
Very impressed. Very impressed with your work, though, sir. You're one of those guys that caught my eye, along with a fellow member of the Dynasty and a former guest of the show, Alexander Hammerstone. That I think you guys are on that tier of up and coming talent. I mean, you're already established in the world of MLW and indie wrestling. But I think, you guys will be that next level of superstars that end up going to like an AEW or a WWE and just absolutely killing it. So I was really excited to get you on. I have a couple of questions here, because what we did is we reached out to people in social media via Twitter and Facebook that had questions for you that they wanted answered. So if you don't mind, I'd like to I got 6 of them here right now.
Throw them at me.
All right. Number 1, this is from Mohammed via Twitter at 21RHCP. So he must be a Chili Peppers fan. He wants to know, is Richard's father a real lawyer, or is he working us all?
Well, Mohammed, first and foremost, I think the Red Hot Chili Peppers are maybe the most overrated band of all time. And second, Mohammed, don't insult me like that. My lawyer / my father is indeed a real lawyer. He also is indeed a real father. So I'd appreciate questions like that to not be asked. Am I quote unquote working people, or working, as you so elegantly stated? No. He's a real person with feelings, and now I will direct him to not listen to this portion of the podcast so he doesn't get insulted.
Good answer. Question number 2 comes from Mark Lee Griffith on Twitter at the Twitter handle at Mark Lee Griffith. There's no H on the end. And then number 2, he says, "What are your thoughts on your theme song? I think it's a bit outdated. You deserve better ring music. The Diamonds Are Forever is a bit 2008-ish. Just saying."
Oh, you're just saying, Mark? You're just saying that it's outdated? Well, here's my take on that. I think it's great. I think it instantly attracts the consumers, and they know that I'm coming out. It gives that big entrance feel to it. Do I use something different prior to my MLW days? Well, of course I do. And of course I did, but I've grown to love it. And I personally think that it's perfect. I think it's a great theme song, and I trust the powers of MLW a little bit more than somebody who changes their last name from Griffin to Griffith. So I think we're doing okay. Thanks for the question, pal.
Nice. Here's another one that kind of pertains to music. This is from Darren Kaltrowitz at Kaltrowitz on Twitter. It says, "Who is your favorite member of Dave Matthews Band, and why isn't it Stefan Lassard?" If I said that correctly. Sreten would know. He's a huge Dave Mark.
Good question. Man. Who did he say? Why is it not Stefan Lassard?
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously fantastic. Man, I don't know. I mean, Carter's fantastic on the drums.
That's my favorite. He's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, his drum line in "Say Goodbye" off the Crash album, I just think it's fantastic. I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go with Carter. I think his work is tremendous, and I think he brings so much to the band. Stefan Lassard is obviously fantastic. Tim Reynolds is great. But the saxophone and the trumpet and the guys playing those, I mean, those make a lot of the songs, the horns, and giving it like that big band feel sometimes but they just do incredible work, man. I'm a huge fan of Dave.
How many times have you seen them live?
Unfortunately, only once, because so many times I'm booked, or I'd be booked when they would come.
Mm-hmm.
And last summer, I was fortunate to completely reserve it and not be able to, and not have any bookings. So I went to Dave for the first time last summer. And actually, me and one of my buddies are actually planning a trip to Seattle to see him this year at the Gorge Amphitheater. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I've only seen him once.
Sreten, so you guys can mark out together on that. I owned the Crash album back in the 90s when it came out, but other than that, I haven't really kept up with what Dave's been doing. But surprised to say that it sounds like most of you Dave fans like everybody else in the band except for Dave.
Well, that's funny because I was on a podcast before and they asked me who my favorite character of The Office was.
Right.
And I said, well, I'm going to automatically rule out Michael because it's everybody's favorite. So obviously Dave is my favorite, but I wanted to give somebody outside of him of who I thought brought the most.
Nice. I like that. I like that you chose the drummer too, man. I'm all about percussionists in bands, so hell yeah.
Dave.
Our next question is from Jaritza Flores Garcia on Twitter at Jaritza Flores 94. She says, "What is your favorite type of coffee, and how did you get signed to MLW?"
Wow, those are two really like two questions that just don't mesh at all. Like, you know how like usually you'll ask somebody and then like sequentially like the next question will like have pertinence to the previous. But I digress. My favorite type of coffee varies based off the time of day and the location of where I'm at. If it's a first-time coffee shop experience, I'm going to get a cortado, which is equal parts espresso to equal parts milk. I do oat milk because I don't drink dairy. My morning coffee is always just a standard black cup of coffee. And then my afternoon coffee is a venti iced Americano from Starbucks. Yeah. And then if you want me to get ultra specific, 5 p.m. on a Sunday, I typically will get myself a venti almond milk honey flat white.
That's a little too complicated. Me, I'm just like I'm your morning coffee guy. Like give me a bunch like a pot of black coffee and I'll stare at the wall.
Yeah, I mean I like to space it out. I like to make it more of an experience.
Yeah.
But that's just me, man. There's different coffee for different folks.
Yeah, there is. Have you ever tried Death Wish coffee?
I did. I found the results were fine in terms of the actual caffeination, but I did not enjoy the taste. I thought it was a little too like you could almost taste the caffeine, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah.
And I wasn't a huge fan. I will tell you what. I did just order from this brand called Caffeine in Kilos, which is a brand that I know a lot of professional wrestlers have endorsed. Just because of their their offerings in terms of workout equipment and coffee. Kind of goes hand in hand. And I just got that in the mail the other day, and it's really good stuff. So that's pretty good. They might have a consumer out of May.
Very nice. So is that like a wrestling thing, like getting jacked up on coffee and then working out?
I think. Well, yeah. I think about the wrestlers. Think about wrestlers. I mean, they're on the road all the time. Going from town to town, or hopping on a plane going somewhere. I mean, you got to be caffeinated for these things. You got to be ready to go, especially. Coming off a plane, like me flying from Connecticut to like Chicago to do a show for MLW. Like, yeah, on beat. Like the first thing I do before I get in my ride over to the venue is I grab Starbucks because I'm not going to the venue without this. So it's a necessity for me, at least. It's a necessity.
I feel it. I think one of the first or second time I saw you guys in Cicero, I had to make a Starbucks stop for Casey Lennox because she needed her caffeine fix and was stuck at the Cicero Stadium all day.
Oh, poor Casey.
Right.
She needed that.
Right on. Moving on to the next question. This is from Joe. Don't call me Cinco de Mayo at PLS or PSLTO Flushing. That's his handle. I don't know what the fuck it means. So anyways, his question for you, Mr. Richard Holliday, is what is your personal goals for 2020 in MLW? And he wants to know a story of your most uncomfortable fan or / consumer encounter.
Well, the goals for 2020 remain the same, and that's just to continue making the brand of the Dynasty the biggest thing in professional wrestling. and the most talked about thing in professional wrestling, not just Major League Wrestling. And I think we're on the correct path in doing so. I think the Dynasty is one of, if not the most, talked about things currently, just in pro wrestling in general. MLW really struck gold with us, I'm not going to lie. And of course, personally, there's plenty of championships outside of the Caribbean Championship that I feel might look extraordinarily well around my waist. But I'm sure those opportunities will come across as they will. In terms of a consumer experience, I would say the oddest thing I've ever had was I was doing a show at a minor league baseball stadium in Massachusetts, and a consumer gave to me a manila envelope filled with fun facts about him, and there was probably 200 printed fun facts about him with pictures of him as well. And he told me to take this and remember him.
Jesus Christ. Was his last name Gacy?
No, I don't know what his last name was. I didn't bother to learn it.
Right.
I don't know what I did with those files of his fun facts, but man, if I could dig them up and read a couple, it would really bring the podcast upside down. But I don't have them. I might have thrown them out, to be honest.
Well, shit. It's all good. That's probably for the best. Well, our last question comes via Facebook from Mason Dixon. This is kind of a average Joe type question, I guess. No offense, Mason, but would you like to go to WWE or AEW? I know you would be huge in either.
That's obviously a question that gets asked from time to time. And
right.
While I am a forward thinker and while I am, looking 5, 10, 15 years ahead in my life, where I could end up, I do not know. What I do know is what I'm doing in March of 2020. And, in March of 2020, I'm heavily focused on making MLW the biggest and best brand that there is, making Richard Holliday the biggest and best brand that I am, and making the Dynasty the biggest and best brand that is. And that's my short-term and long-term goals. And, who knows? Who knows what the future has in store on the crystal ball? I just have a calendar, and I know tomorrow is March 24th, and I'm focused on that.
Nice. Another solid answer. I think as far as what you're saying with the Dynasty and establishing them as a prominent brand across the professional wrestling world, I think you guys are very well on your way to that. Because when I think of like factions, if you will, throughout pro wrestling that really stand out, at least to me, Dynasty's got to be up there. What you guys have done, and especially with MJF's exodus to AEW, you guys haven't missed a beat. There might be some marks or detractors out there saying, well, maybe this was just an MJF thing, but I very much, to me, it seems like you've taken the reins, and you guys have brought in like Gino Medina now, and you still got Hammerstone, and you guys are still very relevant. Your guys' promos, your vignettes, everything, really fucking awesome. So as far as like establishing your guys' brand across professional wrestling, I just think that as more people become aware of MLW, which you guys can watch on Bein Sport and YouTube, for free, I think the sky's the limit for you guys. And that's not me kissing ass. That's just telling you like it is,
Well, for sure. I think the acquisition of Gino Medina was really fantastic. That was a personal recruitment from myself. I felt like we needed to really penetrate the Latino market, and he's the perfect individual for that. Me, Maxwell, and Hammerstone really laid the foundation for what I think will be remembered as one of the greatest actions ever. And our vignettes, or our on-screen promos, or whatever it is that you want to call them, I think would rival anything in terms of just pure entertainment and just watching something for a minute to 2 minutes or 3 minutes, however long these vignettes are. If you can tell me one individual or group who is giving you better quality than the Dynasty, I would be shocked. I truly would. And that's not biased. I just think that's from results or from consumer feedback. I would say it's accurate.
Oh yeah, totally, man. I agree with that 100%. And there's, in the day and age where it seems like, factions and tag teams are just fucking thrown together. It's like, hey, pick this asshole out, this guy, and whatever. and you guys really gel. You know, you can see that chemistry with you guys in the group, and that's something I think that stands out and really helps establish your brand and makes you guys be that top-notch brand as a faction, you know, with the Dynasty. That's across all brands, whether it's, you know, AEW or WWE or any of that shit. You know, it really helps you stand out, the chemistry you guys have together.
Yeah, we have great chemistry, great continuity. And I think it all stems from our relationship when the cameras are not rolling. And the fact that we're all very similar, and the fact that we all have the same ideologies on pro wrestling, and we all know what the consumer wants to see. Right. And we deliver that each and every time.
Oh, yeah, you do. Something else I wanted to kind of get into here real quick, and I know you may or may not like talking about this, but not that I'm going to ask where you were trained, because I know all that. We're not going to go into any of that fucking behind the music type scenario, but Paul Roma, a guy who I enjoyed very much as a kid growing up watching wrestling, whether it was with like his little stint with the Four Horsemen or Power and Glory in the WWF. He still keeps up with what you're doing, and what has he had any words for you on any of your success or anything like that?
Oh God, yeah. Me and Paul are extraordinarily close, and he's one of the closest people in my life. And you know, I owe so much of my success to him. You know, he obviously is the one who trained me and gave me my footing and my groundwork. And yeah, of course, he's super proud of me, and he's come to some MLW shows and he's checked it out, and he's, you know, it's like a proud parent moment, you know, for him. I was actually his first student at Paradise Alley. So to see me go from just me and him in a warehouse to national television to, you know, pay-per-view, right, it's a proud thing for him.
Oh, I bet, man. And he's a guy, I think, in the business that it's highly underrated, in my opinion. You know, I've heard guys when they talk about his stint with the Horsemen and whether or not he belonged and whatever. I mainly remember him from, like I said, like Power and Glory, like back when I was a kid. And like, to me, that was like the coolest shit, dude, with like Hercules Hernandez.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, Power and Glory. It's actually funny, you know, Paul made a Twitter and, you know, doesn't really know how to use it, but a lot of people will tweet at him and say that, you know, Power and Glory is, you know, one of their favorite tag teams ever, and they were so underrated, and they could have done this, could have done that. You know, in watching it back, I tend to agree with that. You know, I mean, the tag team really had everything that they could have, you know, got behind and made something really, really great.
Right.
He still had a good career. He's still extraordinarily memorable, and people love to talk about Paul Roma and hear from him, and anybody who's had the privilege of meeting him knows how great of a guy he is. So, you know, he's instrumental in my career.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. How's he doing body-wise? I mean, because that dude was always in killer shape, man. Always had a great build. So he's
still jacked. Trust me.
Still jacked. Nice. That's good to hear. Yeah. Paul, if you're out there listening to this, I'm fucking stoked for you, bro.
he's ripped, bro. You got to see him.
Hell yeah. So outside of wrestling, kind of, you know, obviously like the stocks and all that, what does Richard Holliday like to do?
Well, you know, Richard is a very simple guy. You know, Richard enjoys his coffee shops. Richard enjoys, you know, going shopping for suits. Richard enjoys, you know, rocking out to Dave. Richard enjoys traveling the country and doing things of that nature. Working out, health and fitness is obviously very important to me. Mm-hmm. I try to keep a very private life, just because we're so exposed as pro wrestlers. That, you know, I don't divulge all too much of my personal life on social media or anything like that. So I do what you think Richard would do, if that makes any sense.
I got you, brother. I got you. So, like, growing up as a wrestling fan, because I've seen this throughout other interviews too. I mean, you like most people. I mean, and I don't mean this as a derogatory comment or anything, but you know, you hear a lot of guys that men and women are wrestlers nowadays. So it's like, well, how'd you get into it? And a lot of them were fans since they were little kids, you know. Who were some of your favorites growing up? And not even ones that just like or inspired you or whatever, but who was just people that you like, whether heels, faces, whatever you want to do or say, that really, man, you had to see them every week on whatever wrestling you were watching? Kane, huh?
Yep. He's my favorite performer of all time.
No shit.
Undoubtedly.
Dr. Isaac Yank of DDS, huh?
Well, not him. But when I first went to a show, I was absolutely enamored by Kane. Kane and the Undertaker were always my things.
Right.
You know, everybody was more so Rock and Stone Cold, and obviously, while I have a tremendous amount of appreciation for them, Kane and the Undertaker was what made me really, really love wrestling.
That's good to hear. I was actually just watching before it went on air here. I was at WrestleMania 8 back in the day, so to kind of date myself a little bit. So I was kind of going back and looking at some of that. And, I mean, the old school Undertaker, like early 90s, this was, I think he was going against Jake Roberts in this one. This was right before Jake left for WCW. I love that old school feel of when he first came out, and he just looked super fucking creepy,
Oh God, yeah. I mean, as a child, he's going to captivate you possibly the most. That's what happened to me. Getting older, maybe guys like Edge or Randy Orton were people that I gravitated to a little bit more. But Kane was always my number one guy.
Nice. I'm surprised to hear it wasn't a guy like IRS or something.
Well, you would think that, but I never really allowed wrestlers to dictate what I wanted to do.
Right.
That's in the sense of, like, a lot of people will watch Shawn Michaels and say, well, I want to be Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
I never said that about anybody. I never said I want to be X. It was just, I am going to do that. You know what I mean?
You want to get in that position.
Yeah. So I think that's the mindset that you got to have, as opposed to, I'm the next Bret Hart. Well, no, you're not. So, just shut up. But why don't you try and be the first Vince? And that was always my approach.
Yeah, that's a very good approach to take, man. I mean, like you say, a lot of people don't, and then you end up having a lot of cookie cutter bullshit. And who needs that? We got enough of that.
Exactly. Separate yourself.
That's right. You got to keep them separated. So speaking of keeping things separated, I mean, obviously, you by yourself. You're still talking with the boys, or what's going on? What's it been like as far as like MLW goes? I know everything's at a standstill right now. Do you guys plan on doing any kind of empty arena shows like a lot of these other companies are doing?
I don't think so. I don't think that's a route that we're going to take. I know that we have plenty of television in the can,
right,
for us to get us through. Hopefully, we can do our May 2nd show in Dallas. That's fingers crossed. Who knows at this point? Our April Chicago show has already been postponed to June.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm keeping up with a lot of the guys, especially Hammerstone and Gino, and making sure that everybody's good. But it's these are weird times for pro wrestling, and a lot of people are very nervous about this, and deservedly so. But
yeah,
this is hopefully this is something that we break through as a nation, and we can maybe find something that helps. But who knows?
Yeah, you look at what it's doing to guys like Hammerstone. He's going to war with ducks right now. From what I'm,
he's battling these ducks. So who knows? I wish him the best of that.
Right. It'd be funny to see him out there with like a fucking old school Nintendo Zapper or some shit, like he's playing some Duck Hunt or whatever. But definitely entertaining stuff, man.
Yeah.
So you and MJF still keep in contact?
Oh yeah, just texted him the other day. But he's busy. I'm busy. We're not blowing each other's phones up. But for sure, there's plenty of love between Maxwell and myself, and I think we'll always keep in touch. He's still a Dynasty member.
Oh yeah, you got to be, man. It's the old adage. Once you're in for the eye.
Yep, Dynasty for life.
Hell yeah. So Richard, I want to know, if you weren't doing pro wrestling, what is it that you would be doing? Would it just be stocks?
Well, no, it wouldn't just be stocks, because I don't fancy myself a day trader, but
right.
I think I would probably own my own coffee shop. That's what I'm eventually going to do.
Would you hire Tony Schiavone?
No, I don't believe he has any barista skills. But Tony's a good guy. He wouldn't have a job with me.
Right.
But I'd probably own my own coffee shop. That's my plan. For when I'm around 40 years of age, I'd like to have that. I'd like to have those wheels in motion. There's plenty of avenues that I want to get into outside of pro wrestling, and I do my research now. But pro wrestling is my main focus currently.
Right.
That's where I'm hoping to allow myself to have the business ventures that I want to have later in life. Hopefully, due to the success that I will have in pro wrestling.
Oh yeah, and I think it's a great thing. I don't think a lot of the boys maybe they do nowadays, but I know a lot back in the day didn't really kind of think that through and invest in their future. I mean, you had guys like Randy Savage that, they'd always put their money in the bank and never spend anything. And, by the time he was, before he passed, I mean, he was well off. He still had all his money. But I think it's a very smart thing to use whatever you get out of this pro wrestling venture, especially if it becomes fame and fortune or at least sustainability, to invest that into another passion. That's kind of like what we do. We're constantly thinking of things that, we like and we want to get invested in. So yeah, I can totally see that, man. Like you running like a badass fucking coffee shop or something like that, or anything you want to do. I think that's great, man. That's really good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things and so many different ways to make money. I just that's the coffee shop will be more of a passion project.
Right.
I think it will obviously be very profitable, and can be. It's more of a passion project. It's ancillary to the pro wrestling.
So what kind of other sports? I mean, I know you played a little college football. Any other sports that you're really into or that you watch?
Well, baseball is my favorite sport.
Who's your favorite team?
The Yankees.
All right. Well, I'm a White Sox fan. Right.
I actually like what the White Sox did this offseason, but I'm a huge baseball fan. That is my number one sport by far. Football, actually, I've been fading away from football just generally. I don't really like the game is going. Just too many rules. It's just I find college football to be a lot more entertaining than pro football.
What'd you think of the XFL?
I didn't watch any of it. If I'm going to be honest, I was burnt out from the season. The NFL takes a lot out of you, and then to immediately go to something that is brand new and maybe not as exciting on the surface is just not something I was looking to venture into. But yeah, baseball up and away. That's the sport for sure.
How many you've been in? Obviously, you're a big Yankees fan. You go to a lot of games, or?
Yeah, I try to make it to some games as often as I can. Try and get my box seats and go and just enjoy the game for what it is. But I do enjoy baseball at home. I like the TV experience. A lot of people don't like watching baseball on TV. They prefer to be at the park. I'm 50-50 on that. I think they're both equally as enjoyable. If you like baseball, that is.
Right. If they're not just there for the tailgating and the fucking park.
Yeah, for the hot dogs and the beer, but
right.
For me, I can enjoy it either way.
Well, hey, Richard, I thanks for coming on, man. I really fucking appreciate it, dude. Let the people out there listening know where they can find you at.
Yeah, they can find me at Most Marketable on Twitter and Instagram. They can go into ProWrestlingTees.com, type in Richard Holliday, 2 L's in Holiday. Be a consumer, purchase a T-shirt. They're highly fashionable, and that's what you can do. Please don't send me a friend request on Facebook. I won't accept it. And that's it. Just be a consumer and follow me on both social media platforms.
Oh yeah. And where can they watch you? Where can people find MLW?
On BN Sports, Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Streams on YouTube as well. I believe at either 7 or 8. If you're not too familiar with MLW, go on, start from episode whenever I debuted and just go from there. And it'll be a tremendous viewing experience for you, especially during this quarantine.
Oh, yeah. Everybody needs a little audio-visual stimulation during these trying times, and I think the fucking Dynasty is where it's at.
Yes, the Dynasty will get you through this quarantine, for sure.
That's right. Well, Richard, hey, man, I wish you nothing but the best in the future, and hey, if you're down anytime, come back on the show. I'd love to have you back on anytime, brother.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, man.
You too.
You gonna do sex to me?